Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this 61st episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Our special guest on this episode is our good friend, grill man extraordinaire, Meathead Goldwyn. We'll be talking about grilling some veggies, also some other ideas about some grilling that you may not have considered. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, comment, leave some feedback, and of course, share with your friends. Now, what is the best state in America? Well, if you think it's the one you grew up in, you're not alone. Someone polled thousands of people all over the country and showed them a series of head-to-head matchups. For example, what's better, California or Texas? Then they took the results and ranked all 50 states by winning percentage. Now, overall, people were very loyal to their home state, choosing it in 77% of its matchups. Now, according to the rankings, the number one state overall, not surprisingly, is Hawaii. Now, the 10 most popular states are Hawaii, Colorado, Virginia, Nevada, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, New York, Georgia, and Texas. Maine, California, and Alaska all missed the top 10 by 1% and tied for 11th. Now, the 10 least popular states are Alabama, Mississippi, New Jersey, Arkansas, Iowa, Indiana, South Dakota, Missouri, Kentucky, and Kansas. Also, U.S. News and World Report just put out its annual ranking of the best countries in the world, and Canada is number one for the first time. And the U.S. moved up one spot this year into 6th place. Our guest today on the podcast is a good friend and grill man extraordinaire, Meathead Goldwyn. And first off, Meathead, always good to see you, my friend.
Always good. Yeah, we can see each other now with the new technologies.
Now, as we go into, man alive, it's hard to believe it's April. We've gotten past Easter, now getting ready for summertime. And also in spring, we talk a little bit about vegetables and growing in a garden. And Meathead, when I think about vegetables, you were the first name that came to mind.
I tell you, well, you know, my wife is a master gardener, and she grows a pretty large garden. But when we were first married 45 years ago, wow, the first garden we planted, the first thing we planted was asparagus. And that's about the first thing that comes up in spring. And asparagus is coming up now, and it's in the grocery stores. And it's much better on the grill than any other way you can cook it. It looks like a spider when you plant it. It's got a lot of roots. It's just a root ball, really. Mm-hmm. And you bury it under a mound of dirt, and it pokes up through the dirt, and it'll keep coming back every year, more and more. You pick it early in spring. There's a couple of myths surrounding asparagus. One is that the fatter, the thicker asparagus aren't as good as the thinner asparagus. They're really about the same in flavor. In fact, the fatter ones can be tenderer and juicier, but the fatter they get a kind of a woody bark on them. And so you got to peel them like you would a carrot or a potato. And so you peel that woodiness off the stem. First, you chop off the bottom about a half inch. Then you peel them, and they're really tender and juicy inside. And they go so well on the grill. Steaming and boiling asparagus just makes them mushy and gives them a funny stink. All you need to do is throw them in a pan, sprinkle a little olive oil on there, a little salt on there, and then if you want some herbs, I like a blend of herbs, and just sprinkle them on there. Bring them out to the grill and right over a high heat. Roll them around, let them get a little char. The tips, which are smaller, will get a little char on them. And bring them in, and I will typically cook them just before the meat. And so when I bring them in, they'll sit at room temp for a little while, and they'll cool off a bit, and they're just fine at room temp. So this is a really good time to start grilling asparagus.
Now, what are some of your others that you like to work on in the garden, or maybe if you're out hunting some veggies. Is there any particular hunt you're going to go on?
I've never seen asparagus growing in the wild, but I'm in the Chicago suburbs, and in the woods around here, we can find ramps. Now you'll see them in some grocery stores. Ramps are a type of onion. They are like scallions, only instead of the tops of scallions, which tend to be round, kind of like a straw, a hollow straw, they have sort of a flat leaf. And they're fairly mild, and they grow wild in the woods. I think all over the country. So if you can find some woods down there in Oklahoma, you might find some ramps. But they're probably in some of the better stores, and you can treat them just like you would scallions. You can chop them up, throw them on a salad, or if you're going to do a stir fry, they can go in there. But what I like to do with them, and what a lot of chefs will do with them, is pickle them. And this is something that a lot of people don't know. There's essentially two ways of pickling. One way is you ferment the food inside a pickling container where bacteria and yeast will alter their structure, and there's salt and all kinds of stuff in there. And those can be stored at room temp. But you can also make what we call refrigerator pickles. And refrigerator pickles have to be stored in the fridge, but they are brain dead simple. And you don't ever have to worry about a wild yeast getting into your pickling batch and ruining it. You just take some vinegar, some salt, and then if you want some sugar, some garlic, some dill, whatever you want. But all you really need is vinegar and salt. And put them into a jar, clean them up real good in a real clean jar, and pop them in the fridge. And you get these really neat pickles, which are great for chopping up on top of a barbecue pulled pork sandwich or something like that. You can do them with jalapenos. You can do them with regular onions. Quick pickles. If you want a more specific recipe, go to AmazingRibs.com, my website, and I have pickled ramps recipe there. But you can do it with a whole variety. You could do it with asparagus. Pickled asparagus is kind of fun.
Now, being from Illinois up in the Chicago area, do you stay away from the heat? Yeah, I heard you mention the jalapenos. I know a lot of folks from the north don't like the heat like we do here in Oklahoma, Texas area. What's your thoughts on the heat?
I'm trying hard not to accuse you of racism. We Yankees, although there is an element of truth here, and I'm struggling with that now because I do like hot, spicy stuff, but not too hot. And jalapenos are within my tolerance, but I cannot handle Scotch bonnets or some of these really hot peppers. And I know people who just chomp them raw, or they, put 3 times as much hot sauce and stuff that I do. I always recommend when people are cooking that a little hot spicy is really nice. It really adds something to the flavor, but don't go overboard. You can always add more. You can always put a bottle of hot sauce on the table, or dice up some Thai bird peppers and put them on the table. People can add them if they want, but you just never know when you've got Aunt Marjorie at the table and she can't handle it at all, or a Yankee like me.
Now, what is one of your favorite, since we're talking about spice? I don't think this is something we've ever really talked much about.
No.
What would be one of your favorite spicy recipes on a grill, especially as we're just coming in the spring?
Well, I put spicy in a lot of sauces. I'm not just thinking of the grill, but for example, this week I've been playing with fried rice. Huh. And whenever you're cooking in a wok, you need a lot of heat to cook in a wok, and most stovetops just don't have enough heat to really do a good job of stir fry. So what I've been playing with is I get my charcoal chimney. Now, if you've not seen these, they look like a giant coffee can. Yep. And they have a fake bottom, and you can put crumpled up newspaper in that fake bottom, and you put the charcoal in on the top, and the charcoal catches on fire, and it's, there's maybe 5 or 6 briquettes deep. So there's a concentration of heat. and the heat coming out of the top of those things, well over 1,000 degrees.
Yeah.
It's like the back end of an F-16. And you can put a wok on top of that thing, and now you've got Chinese restaurant heat. So if you like doing stir fry, and that's where a lot of stir fries have a lot of hot peppers and such in there, or hot sauces, on top of a charcoal chimney is the way to go. And you just take it outside, and you can put the charcoal chimney on top of a gas grill if that's what you've got. You just need something to catch the ash and the sparks when they fall. I've done it in a wheelbarrow. If you're going to do more than just one wok full, there's a risk that the wok will starve the charcoal for oxygen, and the charcoal will start to die out. You don't want that. You want the heat. So the solution to that is I've drilled a few holes just below the upper lip in the charcoal chimney to get oxygen in on the coals from above. Once you've done that, you've got a hot chimney that'll burn for 30 minutes or more. You can do wok load after wok load after wok load, and that's a lot of wok.
Wok load after wok load after wok load. Oh, only here, Dell. We're also coming upon Mother's Day, and there's so many other holidays that fall upon us here real quick. But Mother's Day, this is something we always like to talk about, some ideas, because we got to start thinking ahead of time as guys.
Now this is, we're swinging into barbecue season. Now you guys down in Oklahoma, it never ends. But for me neither. Even in the snow, I'm out there cooking. But you got Mother's Day, Memorial Day, Father's Day, 4th of July. I mean, it's just one right after another, and they're all grilling holidays. Restaurateurs will tell you that moms really love filet mignon. And that's because it is the most tender cut of meat on the steer. And so filet mignon comes from the beef tenderloin muscle, which is a long, slender muscle. It's a little longer than your forearm, and it's just a little thicker, but it can, about three inches thick. And it's pretty easy to prep. You can buy a whole beef tenderloin a lot cheaper than you can buy individual filet mignon steaks, which are about 8 ounces a piece.
Right.
You buy a whole tenderloin, you can butcher it yourself, which is pretty easy. Basically, there's a little muscle that grows on the side. You take that off, you chop that up, you make stew or kebabs out of those. And then you have this big long muscle. You got to peel off some of the silver skin on it, and then you can cut it into individual steaks. And I have a whole movie of how to butcher a beef tenderloin on AmazingRibs.com, so you can see me do it. Now you can freeze what you don't use. So if there's 4 of you for Mother's Day, you pull out 4 of them the day before, defrost them, sprinkle a little salt on them a couple of hours before you cook so the salt has a chance to penetrate. And then if you want to season them with something, one of the steak seasonings or the Montreal seasonings or just salt and pepper, go right ahead. And they grill up beautifully because they're fairly thick. And so by the time you get a good dark crust on the outside, they can still be medium rare in the center.
And of course, you want to cook that in a 2 zone. Right? Is that how you want to do that?
Yes. Always. We've talked about this before, but I can't stress it enough. Set up your grill in 2 zones, a really hot side and then no heat on the other side. And you usually start the meat on the no heat side, so it will gently warm and get an even color throughout. If you start it on the hot side, you'll get this rainbow effect. You'll get dark, then tan, then pink, and finally rosy in the center. If you start on the indirect side, it'll gently warm up to close to temperature. Medium rare, which is when steaks are the most tender, is around 130 to 135. And if you don't have a digital thermometer, get one now. They're under $30. If you want a guide, we have a guide to them on our site. We don't sell any. You start it on the indirect on the cooler side, and then you finish it on the hot side just to get the crust. And it's a great technique called reverse sear. And if it sounds weird, because up till now, we've all been taught to sear first. Go to our site and look at reverse sear technique and the physics. It works.
Now, you talked about the physics, and is the physics what kind of made the idea about the walk over the chimney? Is that how that came to be for you, or did somebody else give you that idea?
I don't think I got it from anybody else. I'm just really interested in cooking, and every time you start to cook a meal, you commence a science experiment, a chemistry and a physics experiment. You are applying energy. That's what the flame is, the heat is. It's energy. You're applying energy to food and altering the chemistry of the food in the process. So, but I do love Chinese food, and I've always tried to do it indoors, and the wok just never gets hot enough. And then one day I'm outside getting my charcoal grill ready for some steaks or something, and I look at that charcoal chimney and my eyes get big. I go, holy cow, that is the back end of an F-16. Where's my wok?
Now, what other kind of ideas have you come up with just by necessity, maybe?
Oh, I don't know that I'm the inventor of the reverse sear, but I probably have popularized it, and that's the idea of starting indirect and then moving to the hot side. We've done a lot of things with, again, cooking on the chimney. If you've got a skinny steak, not a thick steak, a skinny steak, you can just take a charcoal grate and put it on top of the chimney and get a fantastic sear and cook that baby really fast. I do a lot of work with grill toppers, which is like a mesh that we put on top of the grill. we have a new puppy in the house that you might have just heard.
Just saying hi.
The website and my book, I'm drawing a blank here, but the website and my book are full of myth busting. We've, sat down and I've given thought to just about everything you've been told to do on the grill, and almost all of it's wrong. So
now, as 2021, we're starting to see things kind of open up. Has your schedules kind of started to pick up again as well?
Well, we'll see. The traffic to the website, I really haven't checked, I don't obsess over that, or the numbers on how my book is selling. I just, I'm one of these, if you build it, they will come kind of guys. But usually as the weather warms, business traffic picks up. As I said, we don't sell anything yet. We will be introducing later this month our first packaged rubs and spices.
Ooh.
So we'll have those to talk about sometime soon. That is Sandy, a 3-month-old yellow lab who belongs to Leader Dogs for the Blind. She's not our dog, but we are training her. She's the seventh one we've trained, and she's in here harassing my golden retriever.
Golden retriever's just being quiet as can be. Now, you mentioned the website, of course, the book, and you've got other projects coming up as well. Mention the website one more time. And
it's AmazingRibs.com, and the book is called Meathead, the Science of Great Barbecue and Grilling, and it's sold over 250,000 copies. It's one of the best-selling barbecue books in history, and we'll be introducing spice rubs this next month, and we have a meetup conference that we're planning. It was scheduled for the last weekend in August, but we have postponed it till March 18 through 20 in Memphis. So that should be a lot of fun. It's sort of a get together for backyard barbecuers.
That's good stuff. Well, Meathead, it's always great to visit with you, sir. And, who knew we were going to be talking gardening, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'll have to get my wife in here. She is, as I say, a master gardener. And She can answer anybody's questions. Speaking of questions, we ought to do a question and answer session here one day.
We need to do that. Maybe we should do that next month.
Oh, why don't you tell folks, call in with your questions or write in with your questions, and let's see if I can answer them.
Okay, we will do that. And so before we leave, I'll just go ahead and give them the email to send any questions that you might have for Meathead. Send those to me. It's gqwithcam@gmail.com, and we'll get those questions answered by the expert. So there you go.
Thank you. Always good talking to you, Cameron.
Always good to talk to you, and we'll talk to you next month, my friend.
See you then.
Well, thanks again for joining us for this 61st episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, or anything else you'd like to know, you can message me on the website at gqwithcam.com or find me on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at gqwithcam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, click over to the shop. We've got everything from hats, stickers, mugs, you name it, at gqwithcam.com/shop. If you have a special guest idea, email me gqwithcam@gmail.com. Again, thanks to Brandon Allen for coming up with our theme music. We're going to let him play us out and hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday.